everyone, Meryl here, and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have been out for a few weeks now, and I've had enough time to play through them and give you a proper review. Like I said, I think in another video, this isn't going to be your typical biased negative review or positive review. This is going to be me going through each individual portion of the game and telling you what I think about it. So obviously, this will contain spoilers. I'm going to literally talk about everything that I experienced in the game and what I think about it. So yeah, let's get into it. So this video doesn't actually have much of a script. It's more I've got bullet points of what I want to talk about. And that's really how this is going to go. And for each section, I'm going to try and give it an overall rating. But I suck at rating stuff, so I just like to talk about the positives and the negatives of everything. The first main aspect I want to talk about is the story. Now, there are a few different aspects of the story. So the main story, you have three different things. You've got the story to go through the gyms, the story to go through the Titan Pokemon, and the story to go through the Team Star bases. So let's first talk about the gyms. I really liked these gym designs. Like, the fact that you could go to any gym you wanted at any time was awesome. I liked the designs of the gym leaders. I felt like they had their own personalities and their own characteristics that really made them stand out compared to other gym leaders. The gym battles were actually more difficult, which was very appreciated. You know, there wasn't near as much hand-holding as before. Like, they knew their typings. They had plenty of coverage. Their Terra type was always something weird with a different Pokemon. And it was just really enjoyable to go through and listen to their dialogue and actually battle them, and I really enjoyed it. The Titan Pokemon, I didn't have as much fun with because I was personally hoping they'd be more like a Legends Arceus boss fight, but that's just my personal opinion. It was fun, the idea of it, and fighting a stronger Pokemon, but ultimately they were too easy for me. Like, if you just knew your type advantages, plus with Arwen, they were just really easy. I do like that you can battle them in the post-game and capture them, but the Titans don't really get as high of a review from me compared to the gyms. Next, we're going to talk about the most controversial one, which is Team Star. Now, a lot of people were skeptical of Team Star, but I have been supportive of Team Star since the beginning. And the reason for this is because I really like the idea of, not having an evil team in a Pokemon game. I think it's kind of dumb that an 11-year-old could literally go beat an evil organization. And especially now that we know what Team Star actually is, it was a really wholesome and fun storyline. So basically, you have this group of people who are bullied, so they got together and formed a group to fight back against the bullies, and then they got seen as evil and bad. So you have to go around and beat the leaders so that they go back to school and just are generally better. And I love this storyline. I love Cassiopeia, I love Penny. Clive has got to be one of my favorite parts of the story. Like, the director's like, I have no idea what's going on with Team Star, so I'm going to become fucking Clive. And it's the director, but he's like, no, I'm definitely not the director, until he's like, oh yeah, I'm the director. I love his character. And I love the Team Star characters too. Their designs are well done, and the battles are difficult, especially with their Starmobiles. Like, their Starmobiles have different typings and move sets, and they're actually fairly difficult to do. One of the other aspects I really liked about the Team Star battles was the auto battles. So within the Team Star base, you essentially have to auto battle their Pokemon 3 at a time within 10 minutes, and you have to beat 30 of them. And I thought this was a really good way of implementing a mechanic that you had in your game into the story. Like, Team Star was probably by far my favorite part of this game, just story-wise and gameplay-wise. I know that sounds weird, but I had a lot of fun, like, figuring out how these work. Like, figuring out what typings you wanted to send out against their typings and auto battle, and then healing up within time. Like, it was a lot of fun. So overall, for the main three parts of the story, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Again, the Titan Pokemon were not as good as I wanted them to be, but I personally really enjoyed most of it. So, next, big spoiler here, the main ending of the story. So, after you've completed the main portion of the story, you are able to go to Area Zero with your friends, and you battle the professor who was revealed to be a robot. Now, holy shit, like, this part of the story was so unexpected. Like, I don't think anyone expected the professor to be a robot, and the real professor had died, and she made a time machine. Like, it was all just so chaotic and fun, and I really liked the way that they included other characters in that. So your little friend group, everyone you'd encounter on your journey could literally help you finish the game, and I really liked that. Like, we haven't seen that in a Pokemon game in a while, and it was appreciated. But another thing was, holy shit, was that battle kind of difficult. Even though I was over leveled as hell, it was still difficult because this was the first time I had seen any of those Pokemon. I did not know their typing. I could only guess, and it was very difficult. But overall, the ending of the story gets a 10 out of 10. Like, that, holy shit, the ending was like, bro, I cannot even... And I know some people like spoiler-free reviews, but I'm just telling you all the main aspects of the story because I feel like that's the best way to do it. Let's get into the post-game now. There were Titan rematches, which it's cool that you could catch them, but I guess I shouldn't really say rematch because it wasn't like, oh, I'm a big Titan and you can battle me again. It's they've shrunk down and they've merely become their old forms. So it's kind of underwhelming. Another thing that happens is you've got, in the post game, you can as well rebattle Team Star without their Starmobile, and those are fairly difficult as well. So ultimately, there's just a lot you can do in the post game, but I forgot to talk about the gym rematches. So you can also rebattle the gym leaders with their Pokemon being a higher level and them having a little bit different team. So they essentially have 5 Pokemon that are level 65, and I really want to like these rematches, but they were too easy. Like, by the time I had beaten the game, my Pokemon were early 70s, so it was just too easy sweeping through the game afterwards because I was over leveled. And the other thing was, yes, they had more Pokemon, and yes, they had more typings, but the biggest gripe I have is they never switched out their Pokemon, and everyone knows in a good Pokemon battle, you want to switch Pokemon. Like, you both should be able to switch in and out of Pokemon depending on the typing, and I really wish that they had done that as well. Made it so they could switch out depending on what Pokemon you send in. It would have made it a lot more fun of a battle, and it would have made it less easy to literally sweep through them after the end of the game. Now, after you do the gym rematches, you are able to do this thing called the Academy Ace Tournament, where you essentially battle different members of the students and staff to see who is the strongest. This was by far the best part of the post-game for me. I just loved the variety of Pokemon they used and the levels and the strategies. Like, I remember there were a couple of them that tried to sweep me with their setup. Again, though, it does have a similar criticism to the gyms where they were a little under-leveled and they could not switch out their Pokemon, which is just a big one for me because switching out a Pokemon is such a big portion of battle that I wish the AI really could do that, because it is possible to make an AI do that pretty easily. But overall, the post-game, again, gets a 9 out of 10. There were things I didn't necessarily like about it, but overall, I enjoyed it. So another big thing I need to talk about is the music. This is some of the best music we have had in years. Like, because for years, they've just kind of, remixed their old music and just kept using the same music, just more modern, more remixy. And this is the first game in a while that's really stepped away from that and really composed their own music with their own themes. Like, every character's got a theme and it's a little different. And, you can hear remixes some of the time. Like, the gym theme is clearly a remix Sword and Shield theme, but it's like, it's modified enough that it's even more enjoyable than the Sword and Shield battle theme, which is awesome. Now, It's not like God of War Ragnarok level music. Like, that shit was amazing. But, like, for Pokemon, this is the best music we've ever had. Speaking of Pokemon, let's get into Pokemon designs. So, for the main Paldean Pokemon roster, I really love almost all of their designs. There's so many cool new ones, and they've got plenty of utilization competitively, which is great. I love seeing these Pokemon. Basically, it seemed like they said, we've got so many OP Pokemon in competitive, let's just make as many of these Pokemon OP as possible so you have OP Pokemon versus OP Pokemon. And it seems like it's going to be a very fun competitive year. The next big thing is obviously Paradox forms. There are a lot of good Paradox forms and a lot of bad Paradox forms. So I really like the old Paradox forms and how they kind of look more menacing and more devastating. But I don't like the future Paradox forms. I don't like that they're just like, here, make it techno, and it's good. I wish that they could have chosen something more natural than technology, because I don't really feel like Pokemon and technology would fuse, and that all Pokemon would evolve like that. It just doesn't really feel good to me. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of the Violet exclusives. I really did like the Scarlet, though. So it's kind of a 50-50 like or dislike for me. What else? Evolutions? I don't know why I put evolutions there, because the evolutions are cool as well, I guess. The biggest gripe I have with the Pokemon in this game is the number of them. For as massive as the map is, 400 was a little low. 400 was low, because there were so many times where I'd explore a new part of the map, like, oh, what new Pokemon am I going to find? And I'd find the same 3 or 4 Pokemon I found in the last areas, and it was really underwhelming. Now, I know they completely revamped the look of all the Pokemon in this game and made a lot of new ones, but I really feel like they maybe could have added a couple hundred more that you could find in different areas across the map, because there was way too much. I go to a new area and I find the same Pokemon I found in the last area, so it really wasn't that exciting to explore because I'd already seen most of those Pokemon. Another thing, being a shiny hunter, I wanted to talk about is the shiny Pokemon designs. So for most of these, I really like their shiny designs. So the Paradox Pokemon do one of two things. So they'll either take, the old ones will take their, well, actually they all do the same thing. They basically, their new form takes the shiny of their old form, and vice versa, except for the future ones, I guess, because they technically, being metallic, their metal changes to the color of the original, which is kind of lazy, and I'm not a huge fan of it. I like the ancient forms better, like their shinies, the way they do that, than the new ones. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't seen all of the shinies yet, because I kind of want to shiny hunt some of them myself, but the ones I have seen are mostly good. There are some bad ones, like, there are some that don't change at all, which kind of sucks because those Pokemon designs are just lazy and they totally could have done more with them. But that aside, we can't really do much about that. So overall, Pokemon gets an 8 out of 10. Again, because there weren't enough and some of them weren't as well designed as others, I do have to give it an 8. Especially since a lot of it was like, well, what haven't we made a Pokemon of? And they're like there's a little tumbleweed Pokemon. So it seems like they asked themselves, well, what haven't we made a Pokemon of yet? And they made a Pokemon of it. So, kind of disappointing on that front. Still good, but not as good as it could have been, in my opinion. Another great thing about this game is the character customization. So from the very beginning of the game, you can customize so much about your character. You can customize your hair, eyes, eyebrows, nose, all of that stuff. And throughout the game, you can unlock more stuff to buy. You can unlock your backpack, hairstyles, all that sort of stuff. It feels like the most free, design-wise, that we've had in a long time, just to literally play with your character. The biggest issue people have with this was you could only choose from one of 4 uniforms at the school, but that makes sense considering you were playing as a school student and it's clear you have a uniform. It would have been nice if they could let you just enjoy other costumes and put them on, but unfortunately that's not the case, which is also why character customization gets an 8, because you can customize so much, but because you can't customize your clothing, it does lose a couple points there. Now let's get into one of the biggest ones, character designs. there are so many cool, unique character designs in this game. Like, holy shit. Rather than just having the same character copy pasted onto all your NPCs and everything, the students, it's like they randomized your customizations for the students, and you gave there's just so much cool stuff. And then, so first up, I guess we gotta go in order here. I want to talk about your rivals. So, obviously, I really liked Arvin's character. Well, let me go back a second. I want to talk both about the physical design and the what's the word? Their design overall, not just their character design. So, I liked Arvin's design a lot. He really resembles both his mom and his dad, depending on whether you're playing Scarlet or Violet, which I thought would be hard to do, but it's actually fairly easy. He's got a fairly diverse team, and his storyline is fun, I guess. I really didn't... I'm just going to say I love all the unique character designs rather than going through them all. Like, I've already basically said that I like the way they look aesthetically anyways, and most of them have pretty interesting stories and connections tied to them anyways. So, I think that's where I'm going to leave that, because that's actually harder to commentate than I thought it would be. Just overall, I really love the character designs. Character designs get a 10 out of 10. They look amazing. There's so much diversity included. They have fun dialogue and they're fun stories. So yeah. Let's now talk about the bad. The visuals. Yeah, I couldn't avoid it. I've been talking mostly positive, but unfortunately, the visuals just, I can't get past them, and I can't not talk about them. This game looks like utter shit. Like, it looks like someone just pulled a shit out their ass. Like, I know that sounds weird. That's a horrible way to put it. But yeah, it looks pretty bad. But looks don't make a game. Could they have spent more time building the environments? Yes. And the one plus side I will say is the buildings and cities look amazing, right? They look like real world buildings and cities, but the environment around you, like the trees, the grass, it all just looks really bad. The Pokemon, though, I do like the new lighting, and like it almost looks like it's realistic lighting on the Pokemon, which I really do like that. It's a good way to do it, and I appreciate that. So overall, visuals get like a 6 out of 10 because, again, it's like 50-50 with an added bonus on one end. Another big one that I've kind of already talked about in another video that I need to talk about is glitches and bugs. So these games are glitchy as hell, but glitches can be fun. So I'm going to break them down into 3 categories. We have visual glitches, fun glitches, and problematic glitches. So visual glitches are generally glitches that don't affect gameplay. It's just like, you know, you see something clip in and out, or you clip into the ground or something like that. They're not a huge deal. Yes, I would like them to not necessarily be in the game, but they're not game breaking. Then there is fun glitches. Glitches that do not break they break the game, but they don't make it unplayable, and they're fun to execute. This would be something like hopping backwards on a Koraidon or Miraidon and stuff like that. Because I know there are a couple others that are just kind of like fun, goofy, breaking the game. And then come the big ones. The problematic bugs that make it almost unplayable to play the game. Now, I've only encountered a few of these, but they're bad enough that they need to be discussed. So, there are 2 big ones that I've discussed in a bigger video, but I guess I need to address them here as well. There is, when you hop on Miraidon, you can literally fall and continue falling all the way, and it will reset you. So, again, it's not technically a game-breaking bug, but it is really annoying that it's there because they could have fixed it. And the biggest one is obviously the game crashing because it eats too much RAM. And that is just, there's no excuse for that. Upon further testing, I also found that you can actually clip through walls, and that's kind of annoying because... So basically what it is when you enter a Pokemon battle, it moves your character and the opponent character far enough apart. Now, if you're in a tight place or near a cave wall, it can literally clip your character through that wall, and you'll be stuck there. And if you're in a cave, you can't fly out of it. At least I don't think you can. I have to test that again. I don't remember. But you can, usually there's an edge you can fall off of and go back. But it's still pretty game-breaking that you can literally clip through walls and move to areas you're not supposed to. Like, if you throw a Pokemon into battle in the water without having a surf, your character can get moved into the water, and then after the battle ends, you'll drown and go back up under the surface. So, yeah. There are a lot of glitches and bugs in this game that hopefully will be patched soon. Again, there's a patch that was released the other day that should fix stuff, but I don't know how much they'll actually fix. So, come on, stay out of my face, please. Now, here we are on to kind of a plethora of other things that I haven't talked about yet. Obviously, we have raids. Now, raids are one of the things that I was skeptical about because they feel like they were too similar to Sword and Shield's raids, but man, was I wrong. They improved raids. So, the big problem with Sword and Shield raids was they were very slow. You had a limited turn base. You had to wait for other people to go. The NPCs were bad, and it was just overall not really a fun thing unless you had a bunch of other people with you online. But these raids have been improved. So rather than a turn limit, there is a time limit. So you can basically all attack at once and just keep attacking as much as possible until that time runs out. And then if a Pokemon dies, it decreases that time by a little bit. And this is I like this much better. Like, it is way more fun to do these raids, and they're a little more viable than they used to be. And the AI is definitely improved, because in Sword and Shield, they would send out, like, the worst Pokemon that couldn't do anything. But in these ones, it feels like they can actually send out Pokemon that actually do something. So that's good that they don't want to force you to play online to go there. The next big one is terrestrialization. I love terrestrialization. It's like a modified Mega Evolution that's not as broken. So basically, you can terrestrialize your Pokemon into any typing, which is nice because you can get rid of your weaknesses. You can add stab. You can do all this stuff. And I really like the way other trainers in the game utilize it, because they utilize it in a viable way. They'll change their typing of a huge one. They'll use it to get stabbed. They'll do all this stuff that actually makes sense strategically, and I really do like that. Another huge one is picnics. Again, another one I was very skeptical of, but it is a really nice mechanic to have. So if you don't know how picnics work, basically you can make sandwiches to give you boosted effects. Like, you can boost your shiny rate, boost the odds of a specific Pokemon appearing. So many different things that you can actually do, which is amazing. I really like the picnic ideas. The biggest thing for me is eggs. So it's weird that when you're in a picnic, your Pokemon fuck each other and you get an egg, right? It's weird. But gameplay-wise, I like it. And here's the reason. One of the things that sucks about Masuda hunting is you go in a circle and you collect an egg. And you go in a circle and you collect an egg, right? It's very long and tedious to collect eggs. So I like that this idea, well, in this game, you can essentially AFK for eggs from Masuda. So you can literally just make a sandwich that gives you an egg boosting power and wait 30 minutes, collect your eggs, and then do it all over again. Just AFK to collect eggs from Masuda. So you can just kind of leave your Switch doing stuff, collecting eggs, and then you can hatch them whenever you're ready. So gameplay-wise, I like it. Function-wise, it's kind of a weird function. I feel like you could have literally just done this at like a... Oh, what's it called? At a Pokemon nursery. So make it so rather than... Hold on. Give me a minute to do this. Rather than just getting one egg at a time and having to collect that egg before they produce another one, basically make it so you can drop your Pokemon at the Pokemon nursery, and the longer you are away, the more eggs they produce. With a relative limit, because obviously you don't want a million eggs in your backlog, but make it so that you can get a reasonable number from them once you come back after leaving for a while. Another big one is classes. Now, I haven't taken all the classes yet, but from what I have done, I really like this idea. Like, the idea that it's an actual school is kind of interesting. So basically, depending on the class you take, you can learn more about the Pokemon world. My favorite being history, where you learn about the history of the Paldea region, the history of the legendaries, and all this other stuff. And obviously, like, biology teaches you about the biology of different Pokemon and all this. And so far, it's a really fun way to include lore into your game that is kind of voluntary and you don't necessarily need to do it, but you can. Another cool thing regarding that is that around the academy, you can find different books that you can read regarding lore and the past and all this other stuff, which is a really cool detail I like. And then another one, I guess the main one that I have not really dabbled in at all is side quests. So from what I've seen, there are certain like side quests that you can do where someone will ask you to do something or bring them a Pokemon or do this. Again, it's just classical RPG stuff, you know, it's kind of just there. The one I missed is actually battles. So what a really cool mechanic in this game is that depending on how many people you battle on a route, the league person will give you some sort of reward. Again, it's not what I've dabbled in, but it's a really cool thing. I watched Austin John's video on it, and I think it is amazing. Just the number of things they did in this game that they implemented is really fun, despite all the negatives. Now, I know this is kind of another category, so it's kind of hard to rate it individually. So basically, this is all the other stuff that I couldn't fit into one section. And in terms of other, I would rate it a 9 out of 10. Like, the picnics are weird, yes, but almost everything in here is solid. Like, there are some minor issues, again, that I have, but overall, it's pretty fun. So, I've kind of ranked each individual section of the game after talking about it, and that's kind of my overall review of those individual sections. So if you were hesitant to buy the game, I know this is spoilers, but a lot of people like to watch someone play the game or give a review of the game before they play it. So, you know, that's kind of the idea behind this video. But my overall rating has probably got to be an 8.5 out of 10. Because a lot of the things that I don't like kind of override the things that I do like. Yes, there are a lot of amazing points in this game, but there are also a lot of lower points that I don't really like. So we kind of have to contrast those. And I could give it a really low rating, but I feel like it's a good 8.5 to 9 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of this game. If you did listen all the way through, I appreciate it. We are trying to get to 500 subs before the end of the year. So if you did appreciate the breaking down of each individual section, giving a rating on an individual section, I would appreciate it if you would consider giving this video a like and or subscribing, because I'm trying to hit 500 before the end of the year, and it would be appreciated. Another thing I would like to do is I would like to know your opinions in the comments below. Did you enjoy the game? Did you hate the game? Did you find the negatives outweigh the positives, or the positives outweigh the negatives? Again, I love hearing other people's opinions other than mine, because I really like to discuss things with other people and what they think about it. It's, you know, it makes the world a better place. So yeah, I'll see you all next time.